All right, let's look at Isadora as quickly as I can. First thing to say off the bat on Isadora, I don't have a license. I haven't taught it for a couple years now. And so I won't be able to save. And if you don't have a license, you won't be able to save either. They don't have a 30-day trial or anything. But that's all right. I have it all sketched out what I'm going to build, and we're just going to build it live. All right, so the first thing we want to do, we're going to create a kind of a tetrahedron thing that's live generated based on random points. And it'll kind of like move around the screen like a jellyfish. And then we're going to track your face using an external app called OFX Face Tracker and send Face OSC. OFX Face Tracker was the older version of it. Face OSC, and it's going to send its data out as OSC messages that we're going to receive into our patch and use that to move around the live generated visual that we created. So the first step is to we'll start with a pulse generator. So a lot of Max and Isadora relies on like these impulses, pulse generator. And it's like a bang or like a go command. And in Max you use a metronome, a metro. In this you use a pulse generator, and you can say how many pulses you want per second. We're going to leave it as 1 pulse per second at first. And then we're going to use this to trigger 2 random numbers. Random. Whoops, come on now. Random. So the way you add actors, they're called in Isadora, I may call them objects because I'm so used to Max. You can either pick them from the menu over here and then from the list, and you click once and then you click another time to put it on there. But I don't know where anything is over here, and I never use this menu. I just double click and then search what I'm looking for and hit enter. There we go. So I'm going to click the trigger output of this, so the trigger input on each of these randoms. That's going to give us a random number between 0 and 100 by default. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put this through. So we're going to use these as vertices for the lines. And right now it's just hopping to a bunch of things like 81, 26, 78, 76. We want it to slide from one value to the next. So we're going to do that with a smoother object. Am I even recording? Yes, I am. Good. All right, smoother object, and we want the value, the smoothing on this, we need to turn it up from 0.2 to 0.9. Let's put the value in here, duplicate this, and put the value out, or value in here from this one. So now we have 2 numbers that are sliding to those random places. Now, these numbers go from 0 to 100, but the coordinate system for the lines goes from -50 to +50. So we need to use, we need to scale this value. We could probably just do some math and like subtract 50 from it or something like that. But it's better to use an object. So LimitScaleValue is an object that's specifically designed for this. I'm going to make the control line come right back around to save some real estate here. So I want to have this hook into the value. All right, let's duplicate this because we need one for each of these. Click, make sure it goes on the value. All right, now to do segmented cables like that, all you have to do is click everywhere you want there to be a segment. All right, so now I need to set these up so they are going from 0 to 100, and we want the output to be from -50 to +50, -50 to +50. So that puts that in a range of numbers that our line drawing thing understands. So next is we want to send this to some lines. So let's see here. Yeah, lines. So let's get a lines actor. And I have more than one. Mine is the second one. It's because I have some old actors and some third-party actors. So it's this one that has video GPU on its input. And it has this picture of broken lines. So we're going to need, well, let's start off with just one of these. Because right now we just have 1 point. We need 2 points. We have 2 coordinates. 2 coordinates to find a point, at least in 2-dimensional space. And we need 2 points to make a line. We're going to leave the first point at 0 for a second and then put this as end horizontal and end vertical. And then if we send this vid GPU output to a projector, and we go online with a command G, oops, we see nothing. Why? And we also see that this here should be green if there was any signal going through it. Well, this only triggers, it only sends an output when it gets a trigger on its input. So see when I click this, that line turns green. Anyway, we should just make another pulse generator, and this time make the frequency 30 hertz, 30 frames per second, and send that to the trigger. Okay, I'll put this down here. There we go. Okay, and now we have a line, and it creeps around. It's glued to the center of the screen, and then just goes to different other random places. Okay, so what we're going to do now is what we really want is to have 3 lines coming from a central point. So let's make 3 lines. There's 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. Okay, and before we do that, we're going to run out of with all these actors because we're going to need to have all of these repeated 4 times. And all of these actors, all of the screen is going to get really cluttered. So to save us from having to not only take up a bunch of screen real estate, but also keep us from having to reprogram a bunch of code over and over again, we're going to create a user actor that has this stuff in it. So we want to select this plus this, just these actors, none of the other ones, and cut them. Make a new user actor and double click on it, and then paste those into the user actor. Then then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to send these out, user output. I need 2 of those and patch them to the outputs here for a second. Right, and if we close now, it'll say, do you want to save this? And you say, yes, we want to save this. And now we have our points there. We can send that we can still send that to this line segment, and it still works as normal, right? But there's a little bit more we want to do in this. So go back into it, and the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to move this thing that we're drawing around with our face. So we're going to, instead of being centered on the center of the screen, we're going to want it to be centered on the center of your face. So we can do that by having an offset. So all we have to do is take this current coordinate and add it to the coordinate that comes in from our face. And then it'll randomly move around centered on your face rather than centered on the screen. So let's add a calculator. And by default it's add, so that's all we need. We are going to let's move these outputs over here. And let's get rid of their connection. And instead go from here to the output, duplicate this calculator, and go from here to the output. Okay, then we want to have this go to the value 1, and this one go to the value 1 of the other one. The output is triggered by something coming into value 1, so you don't want to have it come into value 2 and have nothing come into value 1. Then we're going to have a user input that will be, we're going to call this center X and center Y, and we can rename that by double-clicking on the name of it. Center X. Duplicate that. Double-click. Center Y. So these are inputs now. Those are going to be connected to the value 2s. I can actually just move these anywhere I want in here. Okay, so we got that now. What else? I think we're going to want access to all of this scaling stuff. The limit min, limit max, out min, out max, all of those. So let's add inputs for these. Let's grab everything, move it over a little bit because we're going to put some inputs over here. User input. And let's see. We're going to call, so this is kind of the X coordinate and this is the Y coordinate. So this is the limit min. Let's add the letter X before this. X limit min. Duplicate that. My cat is hungry. X limit max. Okay, and then let's make a new user input. Out min. What did I call this? Oh, this one we can actually, the outputs we're not going to be different between the X and the Y coordinates, so we can patch this to both of the out mins and both of the out maxes. Okay, great, and then is that it? No, there's one other, there's the Y limit mins. Let's see, let's move this down here, move this over a little bit, and let's duplicate these. I hate when I can't grab what I just duplicated. All right, there we go. Let's change these from X limit to Y limit. And patch those in as well. Okay, I think we may want to have access to this frequency as well. Okay, so go ahead and close this. Oh, actually, before we close it, let's click on this I/O button. And this will allow us to order the input and outputs, whatever order we think makes the most sense. I think we'll put the frequency at the top. We're going to put the center X and Y at the bottom. And then X limit min, X limit max, Y limit min, Y limit max, and then out min and out max. All right, close, save and update. Now we have this big user actor here, and we're going to call this, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it PointXY. Oh, so you can't double click on it because it'll just go into the user actor. So instead you right click on it, and down here you can go to rename actor or Shift Command R. PointXY. Cool. Now nothing is coming out because everything has basically been zeroed out. We need these to have appropriate parameters to work. First of all, frequency needs to be 1. Limit min 0, max 100. Limit min 0, max 100. Out min negative 50. Out max positive 50. Out min negative 50. Oh wait, that's center X and Y. We don't need that yet. Leave those as 0. Yeah, great. Now that came to life. Great. So the next part. We have these 3 lines. We have this one going from 0 to the end. Instead of being stuck to the end, we want this to be the start. So put it in the start. Now we want this one this is going to be the middle point. This is going to be the middle point. So it'll be the starting point of all these lines, these first 3 lines. So start horizontal, start vertical. Start horizontal. Start vertical. Okay. Now, next is, what is next? Oh, next is to duplicate this a couple times. So we're going to need, altogether we're going to need 4 points. We have the center and then 3 around it. And so just that easy, we've duplicated all that code and get independent channels that we can set up independently. All right, great. So next, first of all, this center point, we don't want it to go everywhere on the screen. We want it to be somewhere close to centered on the center of your face. We do want it to wander around a little bit, so let's take this out min from negative 50, make it negative 10 to positive 10. That way it'll be somewhere close to the center of your face, but it'll still wander around a little bit. Okay, so we have these set as the starting points. Then we need these to be the ending points of each one. So this one, end horizontal, end vertical. This one, end horizontal, end vertical, end horizontal, end vertical. Now, if we go online, wait, we won't see them. Still only see the one. Because, see, none of this video has been passed into here. So how do you pass all these videos into one projector? Well, you daisy chain them. See, it has a video input. So let's make a daisy chain. I'm going to use segmented patch cords for the video to make it clear. And then go into the video from there. But look, we have a red line coming out of this, no green signal, because it's not getting a trigger. We could attach the pulse generator to all of them, but it's actually kind of a better practice just to use the frames coming out of the video to trigger the thing. I can just take this and connect it here. I'm going to do just a straight connection for this so that you can tell them apart. And now it should be green. It's a bug. If I click on this line and click off of it, it's green. There we go. Okay. Now, if I go online, you'll see 3 lines moving around a center point, and that center point moving around. So that's really close to what we want. Look how low resolution and alias these lines are. So if you hover over the output here, the video output, and you can do this on any video line. You can hover over it and see what is currently getting sent. So you can barely see a white line in front of a transparent background. That's what the checkerboard indicates. And then below that it says GPU 640 by 360. That is like the standard low definition video that Isadora defaults to so that you get decent performance even on crappy computers. We're going to make that a little bit better, and we can either go into our settings and change that in the stage settings, but there's an easier way where if I send a video through this first video in that is HD, it's going to be, the output is going to be HD. So I could send a video, I could send a camera stream, but I'm going to use the camera for the face tracking, so that's not going to work either. So what I want to do, actually, I'm just going to use a static stream, a static like background color. What happened? Background. I didn't hit enter. All right, so in this you can set the horizontal and vertical size, like 1920, 1080, and now I have a 1080p output. If I patch that into there and I go online, now you can see those look a lot better. Okay. The only thing is I'm going to composite this, and right now if I have a black background that's opaque, it's not going to composite correctly. So I want to actually make this transparent. So we're sending a transparent background color in here simply to format this all into 1080p. And if you hover this now, you can see it says 1920 by 1080. 3 more lines. Let's just duplicate these. All right, bring them down here. And let's go ahead and hook up the rest of the daisy chain. And this too needs to go down to the trigger. There we go. That hooks that up, and then the output back to the projector. Okay. The only thing is though right now these lines aren't moving and they still have values. Let's zero them out for now. 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0, 0, 0. That way, when we go online, we won't see frozen lines. Right? So we still just have those 3 lines. All right, so we just need to hook up this to the other 3. So now what we're going to do, this first center point is done. We need to draw a line with the other 3 lines between this point and this point, and between this point and this point, and finally between this point and this point. All right, so let's do that. We can take this output, and we're going to go to the start on this one, and then take this line and send it to the end. So that's the AB line done. Now we're going to do the AC line. So let's send this down to this start. And we're going to take C and go to those points, and then we need to do the BC line, so we'll take the B point and go to the start, X and Y, and the C down here. All right, now go online. And now we have our cool tetrahedron thing. And it just kind of like rotates around. Now, let's see. Next thing is we're going to make this look better. Yeah, we're going to make this look better. I'm going to do the face tracking last because sometimes it crashes my program. And that way I'll just tack that little video on the end if it crashes. All right, so then, all right, so to do the face tracking, no, not face tracking, we're going to make it look better. So to make it look better, we're going to send it through some video filters. Let's put this projector over here. give ourselves some room. Okay, now instead of going to there, we're going to have it go to a colorizer. This will make it different colors, but let's take from the last output, go all the way back up here. Okay. Now I want this colorizer, these color values to jump all over the place. We already have a system that makes numbers jump all over the place, this PointXY. It only gives us 2 numbers and we need 3 numbers, so let's just make a second one and we'll just use 1 channel of that. And we're going to want to remap this so that it makes full use of the colorizer, because the colorizer scale is a little different. So we want this to go from 0 to 100, 0 to 100. The out we want to be actually negative 100 to positive 100, because that's the way the colorizer works. Its range is a little bit different than either the it's a little bit different than the line drawer's range. All right, so out minimum negative 100, positive 100. Great. We don't need to worry about anything else on this. And then just patch that into red, that into green, and then choose one of these and patch that into blue. And now we have those color, you can see them going up and down. And if I send this into the projector, you see this cool color changing happening. Cool. Now that's cool, but we can make it look even cooler if we made it look more like a glowing laser beam. We're going to do that with some blur. So we're going to add 2 different Gaussian blurs, and you want the one that has this icon if you have more than one. And what we're going to do is we're going to lightly blur it with a size of like 2, and then for the background glow, we're going to heavily blur it with a size of 32. So we want to pass this video into both of these blurs, and then before it goes into the projector, we're going to mix it with a what's it called? MultiMix. I like the MultiMix because it's really simple. You don't have to do too many parameters. You just send video in, you get mixed video out. It also works on GPU rather than CPU, like some of the other video mixers that are in this program. All right, so take these 2, put them together, and send that out. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Ooh, lasery, glowing goodness. That looks awesome. All right, cool. There's one other thing I think we could do. We could do a time delay of so that we see and mix that with the non-delayed video, and then you'll have like 2 tetrahedrons where the second one will follow the first one. So we're going to actually pass this through a second layer of mixing. So patch that into this. Shut up. And patch this out. Now we just need to add our video delay. Okay, and I'm going to take the output from this MultiMix, which is already blurred and looks like laser goodness, and go into the video input here. And 30 frames is like a full second. That's a long time. I don't think we need that long. Let's do more like 10 frames, which is a little less than a half a second. And then patch this into the second mix channel. And now you get 2 of them where the second one follows the first one behind. Cool schmool. All right, one last thing. Let's see if my computer crashes like it did last time. All right, so now we just want to do face tracking. So to do face tracking, what you want to do is download this really cool app called Face OSC. So Face OSC. If you search for that, you should find it. Come on. There we go. My computer just goes so slow when I'm screen recording. And you can go to this GitHub. And this is where you can download it for Mac or Windows. When you download and install it, it will make an app call that looks like, oh shoot, stop. All right, have to do the rest of this on my cell phone because launching the face tracking app makes the recording crash. All right, so the next thing we want to do is do the face tracking, and to do that, we want to actually download the face tracking app, which is called Face OSC. Face OSC. And if you click on this from the GitHub, Kyle McDonald is the author, and you can down here, scroll down, and there's the Windows and the Mac version. Okay, so you download that and you unzip it, install it in your apps directory, and it looks like this. Okay, so I'm going to try to fit a face underneath. There we go, underneath my camera. So this works really well when you have direct lighting from the camera directly on the person's face. When I've used this in an actual production, we had a ring light around the camera to front light the subject. It's a pretty cool program because it's free and it'll track your face. It'll tell you kind of where your eyes are, where your nose is, where the edges of your mouth are. Right? Shows you where your eyebrows are, how wide your eyes are open. You can use this to detect blinks. You can use it to detect yawns. You can use it. I've seen people do things where, as you go like this, it like takes bites out of a burger, right? So, this sends out these tracked points through OSC, which is a communications protocol that lots of different creative softwares can use. It also can send the video signal out because the camera can only be used by one program at a time through a siphon stream. We're going to use the siphon and the pose. We're not going to use the gesture. So we can unclick that and the raw. Raw is like the vertexes of every single one of these points, right? All right, so now what we can do, let me show you. You can turn off this mesh. So whatever you see on the screen, that's what the siphon server will send. So if you don't want to see that, you'll want to hit the M for mesh and the G for GUI. I'm going to leave them on for right now. Okay, so those are outputting. Let's just minimize this. And now to actually receive it in Isadora, the first thing you have to do is set up Isadora for preferences to look at the right serial port. So go over to MIDI net tab and then down at the bottom, IP port number. I think default is 1234. You need to do 8338. Okay, because that's the only IP. That's the only port number that Face OSC outputs on, and you can't really change it, even though it says you can in the help file. So let's say OK. this. And now the next thing we need to do is go into communications and go to stream setup. Now you want to click on auto detect input, and then it should pop up with all these different channels that Face OSC is sending. This will by default have a bunch of zeros right here. You'll need to put the numbers in there. You can put them in yourself, but it's a lot easier just to click down on renumber ports down here. And then it will fill in those numbers for you. You can see it goes 1, 2, 4, 5. The reason why is because 2 is this data point, 3 is that data point, 4, this is 5, 6, and 7 actually. Okay, so that we have data coming in. You can see if I don't block my face with my camera phone, you can see that position moving around. That means it's tracking my face. All right, so let's say okay. Now we just need to get that data in here. So we're going to do that with a OSC MultiListener. There are two different kinds of OSC listeners. One looks at only one channel. This one can look at multiple channels. So you want to say how many channels it wants to look at first. So we want this to be number of channels 2. And then what's the first channel? That's the base channel. So that's 2. So then you'll see now I get 640 and 380 something. All right, so then this is a different coordinate system than Isadora uses, because Isadora, these points all went from -50 to +50. And we're going from 0 to some number and from 0 to some other number. We have to figure out what that range is. You could do that by... You could probably do that experimentally by launching the program and trying to get your face as far to the left, as far to the right of the screen as possible. Something like that. But I have a real trouble getting the camera to lock onto me in that case because it's not at a good angle. I could try that. Let's see if we can see what kind of values we're getting. See, now we're getting 1035. But another way to do it is to just try to get in the center of the screen. We know it's going to be a standard camera resolution, so that's going to be like 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. And this doesn't look high def to me, so my guess is it's 720. But we can kind of try to get as close to the center of the frame as we can. And it's measuring it from this little locus right here, the red, green, and blue thing. Go back in here, and you can take these numbers and double them. So 650 or so, 650 times 2 is 1300. That's pretty close to 1280. And then 350 times 2 is 700. So yeah, it's 720p. So we want to use the same sort of limit scale value. Limit scale value. We want this to go from 0 to 1280, and then the output's going to be from -50 to +50. Okay, then patch the value from here into the value down here. And let's duplicate this. And now change this value from 0 to 1280 needs to be from 0 to 720. For the second value, make sure you're patching this into value. I missed. There we go. There we go. When I'm not blocking my face, it works. All right, so now we have these mapped in the right ranges, and now we just need to attach these to the center XY, center X on this one of all of these points. Scroll down. There we go. That needs to be center X. Get in there. Ugh. Ended up being segmented. I don't care anymore. All right, center Y. Let's patch those in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Now, if I go online with Command G, you can see the lasers, and if I kind of move my head to the side, you'll see it kind of moves to the side. You'll be able to tell better if you could actually see my face, though, so let's look at my face. All right, so last thing, we just need to receive that siphon stream and send it to a projector. So we want to have a siphon receiver, and make sure you do have the newest version of Isadora, because if you try to connect to the server and you don't, it's going to crash Isadora. And if you can't save, that's really going to make you mad. All right, there we go. Face OSC. We just need another projector. I'm going to duplicate this one. Now, to make these composite correctly, we want to change the blend from additive to transparent. And let's just do that on both of them. You can click on the little dot there. Click on the dot, and that brings up a little slider, and you can slide that till it gets to transparent. All right, I think this is it. Let's go online. Hey, there I am. There I am. And there the video is. Let's set this down, and I can step away from it. There, tracks my face. Let me zoom in so you can see. Tracks my face, and if I move over here, it's tracking my face. So it's following me. It works. Yay!